All right, everybody. Welcome to the first ever video podcast of the Sterling Chess League. Here's our agenda for the day. I have a special guest with me here. Those of you that have been part of the Sterling Chess program for any amount of time might know him. This is Aiden Munoz Ripley. And Aiden, I'm gonna put you on the hot seat for a few minutes. It's not like the show Hot Ones. Have you seen Hot
Hmm.
Ones?
I have seen Howlins.
You see, okay, so there's no chicken wings involved, but I am still going to ask you maybe a few questions and just check in and see how things are going. And of course, we're going to run down the latest matchups and results from the league. We'll talk about who's in what standing, who's in what place right now, and we'll feature a few games where we're going to talk about. Aiden and I looked through a bunch of the games just to see what was good, what was not so good, and we'll talk about that for a few minutes. And then at the end of the podcast, we are going to reveal this week's matchups. What everybody is dying to know is who's going to be playing who in this upcoming week. I already know, and I'm already scared, but we'll review that when it comes time. So, without further ado, Aiden Munoz Ripley, here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm gonna introduce you in a couple different ways. Number one, um, I'm gonna introduce you by a few stats that I just looked up, and that is for your career with us with the Sterling Chess Program. And this is just the high school program. You are still, even after all the success that we've had over the last, I would say, 5 years, you are still third on the overall list for points. Um, Let me double check here where you factor in the win total. Aiden comes in. It might be a ways down in the wins, Aiden, but that's only because you were always, and you were 20, it looks like 21st in wins.
Hmm.
We can explain maybe what that was later, but I have I have a pretty fair idea. As far as the state tournament goes, Aiden is still our third highest wins getter at state and our third highest points getter at state. And more than that, Aiden, I tried to dig a little deeper here. And what I did is I found a few pictures that made me think back to you. So here you go. You ready for this?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right.
That's funny.
Here's picture number one. And I don't know if I have
That
to.
one's th- that one's from the interview, right? For the Quad
Yeah,
City News.
that's right. I feel like that kind of like set the tone. I don't know. You kind of broke the mold for what people think a chess player should look like, act like, talk like. And so you've got your, football helmet featured next to our chessboards here. And, that's one that I think back on a lot. I don't think a lot of our players have seen that. And then here's
Hmm.
the next one I thought of. You
Oh
remember
yeah,
what match that was?
is this the last one for state my
It
junior
is.
year?
No, yes, your junior year, the fella next to you, his senior year.
Hmm. Oh
And then
yeah.
we got the most memorable match in my memory right here.
Oh yeah. That one's a big one. That's conference final round right there.
Mhm.
We needed at least we needed to win the game, right?
You did. You needed to win, and you had a little bit of time up. You're both under a minute here, but I believe I can tell you're playing the white pieces and
Hmm.
sort of a no doubter, like you really have to mess this up, you know.
Hmm.
But you being Mr. Cool and collected here, you didn't act. You can tell Sendejo feels a little bit of the pressure right now. He's standing up. If I zoom out on this, we'd see a sea of people just crowded around your board here.
Oh yeah. This was a fun one. This was a really good one because we had never beat Sangdao yet from
Yeah,
Auburn.
no, we never had. And of course, we didn't win on first board either that day.
No.
But you coming through for us really was another one of our 9 lives that we managed to cash in winning 6 conference championships in a row. And then here's my last one. Because personally, I feel like this is maybe where I see you now. And you might not have noticed that, but this is your senior year with Coach Brian. And I really feel like you two are more alike than you might even realize. In that I think you both do a great job of observing, younger players and are always willing to give advice. So anyway, those were my top ones, and I don't know if I really broke into it a little bit, but really this one too. I just remember we didn't reveal it, but you kind of broke down before the match, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you were pretty emotional because you knew this was the last time you'd play with the seniors that were on our team, and it was a special
Mm-hmm.
special group that we brought home our first 2A state championship. We went to the national event together, so you had more time with them. But really, for IHSA,
Mm-hmm.
this was that.
Yeah.
So here's where I put you in the hot seat a little bit and just ask, and it doesn't have to be one of these, but what do you have any favorite memories to bring up or share?
Oh, that's a good one. I think top memory is probably saying Dow at conference, getting the win against him because it was a pretty closed position that I remember thinking halfway through the game, I was like, okay, this is something I can draw pretty well. Because I had a pretty high draw rate, I remember. Like I think I only lost 3 times my senior year, 3 matches. So I was four matches out of whatever it was. So I was pretty good at drawing against the better players at that point, especially in those closed positions. So I felt very comfortable. And then I think we had like some unexpected loss on a lower board that made it so like I had to win. And so just playing this time scramble, luckily I was a blitz fanatic, the best blitz player ever to come through SHS. That's don't pull up any stats. So it was fun. It was a fun time, especially because that was a big moment because just how at that point had won 1 or 2 years in a row,
Yeah.
and that was probably the most competitive conference we had
Yeah.
in my high school career because you had Guilford, who had a really strong 1, 2, 3
Yeah.
with Jeremiah Davis,
Yeah.
who goes 7-0 at state that year on first board, takes down the number one rated girl in the country, and then you have Vincent, who's like 21, 2200, debatably top three first boards in the state,
Mhm.
very competitive scene. So it was just really, really, really fun, really intense. You live for those moments. So that's gotta be number one.
Okay.
Um, Number two, that's a good one. Probably my draw against IMSA board one, because
Mm.
IMSA board one was really strong.
Like
Really, really good player.
every year.
Yeah. I remember I was really shocked when I drew him because I had heard he beat Jeremiah,
Yeah.
and Jeremiah was really good. And I remember he won a lot of the games I watched at tournaments, always competing against those high rated players. So drawing against him was really big one, especially because then you look down the line and we drew boards 1, 2, 3 that tournament against IMSA. And I feel like that kind of set the tone for the year because that was like tournament 1 or 2 for me.
Yeah, that was
Uh,
at Bolingbrook.
Set the tone for how good and strong our top three were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback off that, I believe our slogan that year was never a rebuild or something to that effect because we just didn't know what to expect that year. I mean, we graduated so many seniors and had this huge successful year, and come to find out that year would be full of such, crazy surprises, being able to win conference again when really nobody probably expected us to. And then being able to win 5 matches at state for the first time, that was just
Mhm.
mind blowing to me. It just you try so hard for something and it happens when you maybe weren't trying as hard, as other years.
We got 5 wins down our third board.
Yeah.
Five
Yeah.
wins down our third board. So
Yeah.
pretty
That's
strong
that's
team.
incredible. Well,
Right.
thanks for giving everybody kind of some perspective on what's happening. Let me do this. Let's jump right into it as far as the Sterling Chess League. That's why everybody's here. So here we have it. This year, we have 2 different divisions featuring 8 players in each division. We have 3 different middle schoolers that have chosen to join us this year. We've got Sam Chino, Jalen Mullen, both 7th graders. We've got Aaron Rivera, son of Mr. Rivera. He's our 8th grader, so he's going to be an incoming freshman with us next year. And then in this division, we have Chris Peterson, who is kind of our 8th, 9th board, Austin Jacob, kind of in that same area, and Kenneth Kiersgaard, who is a junior, joining us for the very first time and made it to the varsity team as a junior, playing for the very first time, and actually played in the state championship against Dunlap. You probably don't know the story, because I don't think I told it, but we were on the verge of beating Dunlap. We would have rocked the IHSA world at that point. Um, we lost 30-38. It was a crazy, much closer than we expected. So, and then we have Trevor Salinas, who is a sophomore who's was kind of in and out of the program, but has said he wants to be a bigger part this year. So that's our pineapple division. And of course, in the rock and sock division, shout out David Martinez for your inspiration with the rock and sock connection. Anyway, we've got super sophomores in here, Jacob Marufo, we've got Xander Knowles, and then of course powerhouses, Ryan Austin, Elias Jensen, who Ryan is a senior this year, Elias graduated, and then myself, Martin Fisher, who is lining up to be next year's first board, Sam Meyer, who is a local chess philanthropist who we've met over the last year and has done an amazing job in not only sponsoring our program, but coming to be part of some different things that we put on. Most recently, Sam and I have been in contact with chess.com. We did a Zoom with them, and we're in the process of getting all our players premium diamond memberships. So kind of exciting news.
Very
Of
exciting.
course, I don't think I even mentioned him, but really probably the overall number one pick here that I would go with would be Coach Brian Brooks, who maybe the only advantage we have is the 30-minute games here is like a blitz game for Coach Brian.
The old man who plays boring chess. It's just what he is.
Okay.
And he does it so well.
I hope he watches this.
He should.
All right. So as you can see here, we had wins from Chris Peterson won, Jalen won, Austin won, Kinnick won, and then on the Rock and Sock division, we had Coach Brian taking home a win, Elias won, Martin beat Coach Penne, and Sam Meyer beat Xander. So the standings look like this, where I haven't included tiebreakers yet. I just feel like after round one, that'd be a little bit too much. So anyway, as of this moment, and again, it's a round robin event. So everybody will play everybody. That means we should have 7 weeks of competition before we do any cross divisional stuff, which I haven't really thought through intently yet, but we'll just see how this goes up until then. So current standings, and Aiden, I'll throw it over to you. Any opinions here on how the either division is going to shake out?
Ooh, so I don't know much about pineapple division, so I'll talk about rock and sock. I think Brian's gonna take it very seriously. He's gonna come prepared. You know, he won't get caught out in any openings too, which is really good for him. Like you'll never see him fail to have a good opening prep, which means that every game for him is gonna be solid. So you're really gonna have to outplay him in the middle game where he's the strongest and most positional. So it's really rough. Unless you can get him into a time scramble, I just don't see anyone beating him. He really has to have an off day. It's very strong. The other contenders, I would say, like right around, I would say next tier. I don't know much about Sam, so I would say probably Elias Martin and you,
Okay.
or no, Elias and Martin, and then I'd say you and Ryan, right about the same thing. Even though you guys have lost, just because I don't know much about Sam
Sure.
yet.
Yeah, that's a good
So we'll
point.
see.
Okay.
So we'll see. Sam has to win a couple more games for me to have a stronger opinion.
Yeah. My
And
analysis would be pretty similar. Brian is the front runner, and then probably Elias and Ryan as a tier above. They've just really, Elias is Elias, and Ryan just had such an amazing year for us. I don't know if you know, but he set the record for most points by a senior in a single season with
good
over
for him.
300. He had like 315 points, and we play less matches than we used to. So he was just,
Who'd he beat? Who'd he beat? Was that Nick or Dylan? Or was it Tyler?
oh, and the coaches players challenge?
No, for most points. Who had most points before him?
Oh, I think it was Dylan Kenny.
Yeah.
Maybe Nick Byington. I think it was Nick Byington as a senior. Yeah, that would make sense. It was Nick Byington. Um, So yeah, and both Ryan and Isaiah had over 300 points this season. Just absolutely mind blowing. So, all right. Well, there you go. Here's our current standings. Let's talk about a few of these games. If it's a weekly segment and this actually works, we're gonna talk about one from the Pineapple and one from the Rock and Sock. So here goes. Let's bring up. First one is going to be from the team or the Pineapple division here, featuring. Here we go. We've got Sam. So Sam Chino, our seventh grader, versus Chris, who is a sophomore. And I'll just start it off. Aiden and I just found a few points here where we thought maybe could use some discussion. So here you go. And Aiden, I think it's right about here where we wanted to start, right?
Yeah. So I think this is fine, like this position. I don't play much C6 against Queen's pawn, but I know a lot of people do that. And just some advice for Sam. There's a lot of like rules that are like suggestions, fundamental things for chess. When you're fianchettoing your bishop, you want to put it behind the pawn, tuck it back there on G7 to control the longest diagonal.
Yeah.
But putting it just outside, it's less protected, covers a smaller diagonal. It can be very loose, we could say, which is
Yeah.
just, I
And
feel like, yeah, God.
it'll probably come into play here soon. It just the scary part is there's really no protection for that bishop right now. And it's not really threatening anything. So I think you're right. The G set bishop G7 might have been the suggested move there. All right, let's see what Chris does. So Chris developing pretty strongly. Can't complain here.
Yeah, it looks solid.
Here's another move where I think we talked about it a little bit.
Hmm. I remember, when did Brian show up? Like junior year? I did something like this for some weird idea I thought would work and some game that I wanted to show him. And I remember he let me hear it about tall pawns and how you're taking a 3-point piece and making it 1 point really quickly by just putting it in front of your pawns. And you know what I would say is with the C6, and why I don't play the C6 move too often is because it's hard, because your knight and bishop both kind of want to go on D7s at times. So you have to really figure out where each piece goes. And you don't want to put your bishop on F5 because trading and doubling pawns, opening up the king side is not the best. Maybe pinning the knight's okay here if you're looking to trade, but tall pawns aren't always the most.
Maybe just bishop, out to G4 if we really wanted to develop the bishop would have been a better spot. Not saying we want to trade the bishop for the knight, but just more ideal spot for that piece at that time.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah.
So Chris moves a pawn. And like you said, now we've got both the knight and the bishop out.
Mhm.
All right, things get interesting here because now that bishop, I don't know if Sam sees it at this time, but now that bishop that he placed on H6 is now hanging, right? So if we don't make the right move here, gone. And so I'm guessing the best move is either just move the bishop back or trade bishops right now. Either one's probably fine.
Yeah, I think there might be yeah. Yeah, I would say I would just take the bishop, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's okay.
And so here's what happens. Sam takes the pawn, and now this starts a bit of a spiral here because now and this is fine. Taking this was fine. Although I wonder, yeah. I'm gonna guess the recommended move is still probably take the bishop here, right?
Yeah.
Because then you've got
Yeah,
bishop.
but you can take the bishop, right? So like let's say bishop takes bishop H6.
Yeah.
And then you take knight, you take their knight with your pawn, because even if they take your rook, kind of ripping open the queen side is something that they don't want to do, because now you take their pawn.
Okay.
And they have to take back
Sure.
with their king, and then you pick up the bishop for the rook, which is, it's like computer likes it, but it's hard to play for. I think it's hard to defend, but it's also a lot of pressure on black now to really expose the king side. Once you take back with queen on bishop f8,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
which if he saw this and he goes for this, you just gotta say, man, you're crazy. You really want to mate this guy.
Right.
Props to him. But
Now, here's what I think needs to be brought up here is now you can see it, right? You can see the time. We talked to the time a little bit.
mhm.
And here's a move where Sam makes this move here. So I don't think he probably sees that bishop hanging. And now Chris takes here, but he doesn't actually find the best move. And I would like to bring up that for both players here, this move, because we can actually see the time, this move was considered for 3 seconds. This move was considered for, I believe, it'd have to be just 6 seconds because we get 5 seconds back. It's 30 with 5. So this was considered for 6 seconds. So I think just throughout the pineapple division, when we looked over games, that would be my one like overall commentary was players are going to have to learn to play with the time control a little bit better. If you're given 30 minutes with 5 second delay or 5 second increment where we're gaining time back, I'm not suggesting running out of time. That's a problem I have. I am suggesting in key moments, because this is a conversation we have a lot now is, and I know Brian made this suggestion. I've tried to echo it whenever I can is whenever exchanges are presented, that's when we need to take the most time. And so right now, obviously an exchange, there's many exchanges on the board. So Chris can take bishop. He can take knight. He can do all sorts of different things here. And it turns out, Aiden, you want to guess what's the best move here? Have you looked at it?
It's probably takes with check.
Yeah, it is. So
Right,
take
it takes with
check
check.
is a stronger move here. And then you obviously he's gonna have to take back, but then you not only get the pawns out of position, now you're able to take back and still threaten the rook. And yeah, it's just a stronger position. So
Mhm.
I'm just gonna go a little bit further because now that this happens, we'll see the game simplifies pretty quickly. What Chris is doing is just trading pieces and really doing a good job of simplifying. And as far as I guess the commentary I would say to Sam here is that like this move here, it's not really it's a threat, but it's not really a threat because that knight, I mean, it's easy to just move the queen out of the way, right? I think Sam's probably better advised to maybe get that, start getting, like the only thing you can do when you're down material is probably how to make threats, right? Aiden, you got any suggestions here from this position?
Yeah, I would probably go rook to d8 behind the queen,
I
and
thought this,
then he probably brings his rook over, right? Because you're attacking. I like that he eventually does this as he attacks the backward pawn, right? Like that's a target, and that's something you should recognize. So you double the rooks. Probably white brings their rook over, and then you can do something like push your e5, pawn to e5, and force them to move their pawn up or drop the pawn. And because you're only down an exchange,
exactly.
so at this level of play, it's pretty like you go up a pawn, maybe two. It's pretty close game. It's not super easy with good endgame knowledge and solid technique. You could have a chance at holding, you know.
Absolutely. My thought exactly, because you're right, down the exchange and both players are playing pretty fast here. So just create threats and hang on. I guess this is the creation of a threat, but really it just moves the knight back. Sam does do that move eventually here, which again is setting up. This is the one piece right now you look at and say that's a weak piece for white, and how can we?
Mhm. And then right here, I would just instead of that, you just go e5 and you just say we're gonna try and win pieces. I don't know if
I think
I think
Sam
it
does that
does.
eventually.
Okay.
The problem here is that Sam will eventually get. This was, I think we tried to be, we were trying to look at a, what if he takes the knight there type thing, but the
Hmm.
other unfortunate part about that move is that unless white takes that knight, the knight has 0 squares to move to now.
Hmm.
So Chris does not take the knight. He does take this was better. Chris took about 40 seconds or so to actually consider what to do here. So he does move out of the way. And now again, oh, I lied there. I guess there was a safe space, but um eventually that knight is, oh, and here we go. Chris is just trading off pieces, and now we're down a full rook. And so I'm going to go really fast here, but now it's just Chris can simplify this game and just take it. Even right there, backing up real quick, I think he could have even been safe to just like trade off both rooks if he really wanted to and still have an advantage. But that's probably overkill here.
Mhm.
Eventually, Chris does a pretty nice job here of setting up a nice little mating net. There you have it.
And good job to Chris with when you're up, good technique on just simplifying down, using your piece advantage and your space advantage. That was good execution by him.
Agreed.
Yeah,
All right, let's
and
go to our
I would say any advice to Sam is just opening theory for younger players is so big. So making sure that, very solid and you're comfortable with your opening positions would be good.
All right, on to the rock and sock division. We decided to feature Elias and Ryan's game. So Elias is playing the black pieces and Ryan is white in this game. So we'll go in, I believe, Aiden, we have to travel all the way to move 15. Interesting opening here. Elias playing the Sicilian and Ryan saying, well, I'll just play something totally out of theory.
And lucky for Elias is that you have Jerry who plays the Grand Prix all the time. So he's seen it before, but not in this move order.
Yeah.
And it's so annoying as Sicilian players. You spend all this time learning all these different lines, all this theory, and then your opponent plays something that's not theory and it's hard to play or has weaknesses, and maybe you don't know why because you've never seen it before. So it's kind of funny.
I love it that Ryan did that just because, again,
Mhm.
like, what advantage would he have playing into an opening that Elias has purposely guided and knows really well?
Exactly.
All right, stop me here if I go too far. I can't remember I think it's here. Here's where
Mhm.
things, I think I got 10 minutes here, Aiden. I think we can do it. I just got a notification. I think we're right on
Mhm.
pace. So after this move, let's see where things go because now
Mhm.
it's here, right? I think taking back with that piece, and it's certainly now what you're going to see here, Elias is able to get that rook to a great spot, right?
Oh yeah,
I think
most
Ryan's still
deadly.
perfectly fine here, but I think this next move is going to really change the course of the game. What do you see here? Have you looked at this, Aiden? Do you have a suggestion for Ryan?
Maybe like first move that I haven't really looked at too hard, but maybe Rook F2.
Mm-hmm.
It's covered by the queen. You're protecting the bishop. You're stopping the windmill. Your knight's still in a nice place. I think it could be fine.
And maybe for our younger players that don't see what windmill is, you've got these two pieces lining up on this pawn, and it's setting up against the king. You're going to have a check, followed by a discovered check where black's going to take a piece somewhere, and eventually that queen is a target if this isn't seen somewhere. So this move here, I think, is a big swing in the game because it allows Elias to start that windmill technique. And for our young,
Mhm.
for anybody just watching just for fun, it's really cool to see Elias kind of pulled this off. So after this,
If you're okay, go ahead. I
no,
was
no,
gonna say if you're watching, what Elias does is still fine. It still puts him in a very good position to win the game. And I think it is good to see this type of technique. But if you're one of our younger players, just pause here and try and find the tactic before we talk about it, the better move. But go ahead and show what Elias does, Mr. Penny. So discover to check on the king, threatens the queen. Very good stuff.
Takes the threat,
Hmm.
which is interesting here, right?
Right.
Now,
And even right there, couldn't Elias have just taken the knight before taking the queen and been okay? Been better
yeah,
position.
Elias, I believe, misses. This is what I wrote down in my notes on this. Right here, instead of taking, um, where was it? Actually, right here. Instead of taking, this would be even a better place for our players to pause. There's checkmate in three on the board right now. Right now. I'm putting you in the spotlight, Aiden. You want to find it?
Um, probably probably queen takes knight, followed by king over, queen to g2.
Well, it's white's. Oh, hold on. Did I miss something here? No, maybe you're right. Maybe it was checkmate in just two. So yeah, because here it's forced. Oh no, it's not forced. Here's why it's three. Here's why it's three.
Oh yeah.
Block. You can block. But yes, you basically found the net there. So yeah, that was
Hmm.
checkmate in three that was missed. So
Wonder if Ryan saw all this stuff as it was happening, and was just happy with only going down the queen.
right.
It'd be funny.
I don't know. And again, if you just play it back here, I do notice the times here. Ryan took more time here on this move just to think almost 2 minutes here figuring out what should he do because he knows. I think at this point you're probably red alert a little bit saying, how do I get out of this mess? And
Hmm.
this was what he saw. And then this move here, I think, again, just kind of sets the game up in a tough spot for Ryan for the rest of it. So
Yeah.
anyway, that was our commentary. Next week, we'll try to choose two different games. So we're gonna close this out today by doing a full reveal on next week's games. So here we go. So again, here are the standings, but then here's the reveal for the new matches. So Aiden, welcome to hear your reactions to what you see here.
I see two of our younger players in Pineapple playing each other, which is good.
Mhm.
I'm curious to see what the opening preparation looks like for those two. I'm very curious. The next one I see that I think Rock and Sock has three games I would love to look at. Brian versus Austin. Austin, please take your time. Please. You'll be fine. It- And then you versus Elias will be fun. I bet Elias gets you in time trouble, but we'll see. And then, you know, Martin versus Sam. That'll give me these games will give me a gauge on how good Sam is. I think this will be fun. This
Yeah.
will be a fun week. What do you think?
Yeah, my initial impression here, if I look at the pineapple division, I am excited to see kind of like you said to Ryan to take your time. I hope pineapple division maybe digs in a little bit and plays it not like it's a blitz game, but like it's a 30-minute game. And if that happens, then Sam versus Aaron could be a real, heavyweight fight. Chris versus Trevor. I think Chris is going to be favored, so Trevor will also have to kind of dig in and take time. I certainly don't think Austin should underestimate Jalen, our seventh grader, because he was kind of like you, how he won. Jalen was one of our. Ooh, did he just miss He just missed a medal, I believe. It was but he's right there. Jalen was our one of our top-rated seventh graders all year long. So if Jalen again, if he takes his time then I think Austin will be in for a good game. Kinnick versus Tia could be tight as well. Again, just depends on how much time they take. But then in Rock and Sock, yeah, Ryan and Brian have played this year. I know Brian came out on top. I don't know if it was similar time control or not, but really anybody going against Brian's probably favored here. Elias, I
Oh
think you're
yeah.
right. Elias I'll probably get low on time this week. No excuses, but I did get into time trouble early. I was trying to get everything started in the league, and it came back to bite me big time. But I think Martin and Sam will be a really good match. I think Sam is a player who's going to be stronger in the online matches because that's where he normally plays. Sam doesn't play over the board live as much, but
Mhm.
online, I think that's his specialty. So we'll see how that goes. And then Xander and Jacob are good friends. I could see that going quickly, but again, I hope I'm wrong. And right now, Jacob is the higher rated player in the room, but Xander could go into that with something to prove and maybe see if he could come out on top there. And he's playing white, so you never know.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, Aiden, any final thoughts or
Only thing I would like to see is I would really curious to see how well this pineapple division knows their opening theory, and their main endgame techniques, like the big ones.
yeah,
So I'd like to see those be used. That'd be fun.
cool. Well, I wanted to just say thanks for you for taking your time out. It's a Sunday and we're recording and Aiden's taking time away from studying. Aiden, why don't you finish? We have a minute and 30 seconds. Why don't you tell everybody where you're at now and what you're doing real quick?
I'm currently at the University of Illinois, Chicago, studying psychology. I'm spending my day finishing up my last few things for one of my research teams, prepping for a big final Wednesday, and writing two papers currently. So that is what my agenda looks like. My timeline is get it done by Sunday and Wednesday. Today's Sunday, so tonight. So yeah, that's my timeline right now. What I need to get done.
All right. Well, again, thanks for joining us. Thanks for everybody who took some time to watch. This is the first ever video podcast for the Sterling Chess League, and I am honored to have Aiden, I call him the GOAT. I truly believe that, Sterling Chess, and so no better partner to join me for the first one. Thanks, Aiden. Good luck to you,
No
man.
promise. See you, Mr. Brennan.
Bye.
Bye.